Okay, right. Are we? Yes, we are recording. I'm not even going to ask because it's always recording.
It is always.
50 and Coping has been about being 50 and then coping ?
Yeah.
I think we've reached a place, right? Life is not perfect.
No.
Life is not easy.
No.
But I think we're coping better, both of us, actually,
Yeah.
than when we started this
Yeah, I
little
reckon.
jamboree.
I think you're probably right.
Right, I'll tell you why I say that, right? Because also there was a big hoo-ha about me being on sertraline and then antidepressants, and then we talked to a lot of people about finding their problems. I want to look at our problems.
Do it.
And whether we've actually found a way to maybe coping is a big concept.
Yeah.
Because coping suggests by nature in my head that you've sorted that. But coping really is just like the one day at a time, not being overwhelmed, not being swamped by what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So is coping an in the moment thing, or is coping an overall thing?
I think it's an overall thing, but it's also a reaction to a challenge.
A challenge being negative or positive?
Yeah, I'm thinking negative, but that's what I do.
I've noticed that.
Well, that's what all humans do, natively, apparently. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking negative, i.e. stress or bereavement or overwork, whatever.
Right, so we're going to have to go through this one by one.
Yeah, do it.
Or something like that. So I want to look at grief, actually.
Oh, okay.
Right? Simply because that's something that comes up with you a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit dead inside to that because I haven't lost anyone recently.
Yeah.
But I have had to look at the effect of my mother dying on me.
Yep.
And just to make the decision about whether my addiction was not caused by that, but exacerbated.
Triggered by it or whatever, yeah.
And I don't think it was. But that's another thing. But, you know, you've spoken about the loss of your parents on this podcast. Do you think, and this is not a yes or no answer, do you think after doing a lot of soul searching, listening to a lot of people talking, going through the process of this podcast, forming a charity, you know, do you think after all we've gone through, you have a better handle on that?
Yeah, I do. I think some of that is time. Time is a great healer, cliche as it is true. But some of it is kind of letting it happen as well.
Yeah.
So probably come up with lots of cliches now, sitting with it, you know, don't be afraid of the grief. It's perfectly natural to feel that and all of that stuff. I think certainly, so my dad passed away before my mum, and when my dad passed away, it was all about focusing on looking after my mum, and I don't think I really grieved for my dad because of that, I guess. So I think I sort of doubled up the grief when my mum passed away and my cousin / auntie had passed away as well in the interim. So the three most nurturing people in my life, I guess, all passed away within a relatively short period of time. And I think that all kind of came to a bit of a head. And although it's obviously going to happen to all of us, parents at least, are all going to pass away at some point, I don't think anyone is really prepared for the catastrophic effect it can have on you, even if you know they're going to die. I mean, my mum, it took 2 or 3 days for her to finally pass away once she was, you know, hospitalised. But even it's still a ton of bricks when it hits you, and it was an awful thing to say, but it's true. When my mum passed away, someone said, "Well, you're an orphan now," and horrible as that is, it's true. But it takes a while for that to sink in because you sort of don't have those people that you turned to for your whole life.
I've got a bit of a thing about grief in as much as, right, so when my mum died, I knew my mum was going to die from because of multiple sclerosis. I knew that was not going to end well.
Yeah.
Right? But what I didn't know was when, how, what happens. So I remember her telling us in the dining room at Wells and telling us what was going to happen. So as a kid, your immediate reaction is fuck, are you going to die? And she went, well, we all do that. Do you know what I mean? And then, but then, you know, she didn't die until I was 27. Right, and it went on, and it was a horrible thing.
So what's the time scale we're talking there? Between
right, so between 8,
right,
so 19 years, or 21 years. Sorry, maths not so good. So I had, if you like, all of that time to prepare. It doesn't prepare you for fuck all. You don't. You can't prepare for somebody dying, right? Because you have no idea how you're going to react to it.
No.
Right. There are friends of mine who I have been with through grieving stages who have just blanked it.
Yeah.
So they blanked it and blanked it and blanked it and blanked it. And one of them, 5 years, fell off the fucking side of the earth. So I think my biggest thing with clients now and myself is to don't blank anything. Look at it, take it out and look at it. See how you feel.
Yeah.
Because if you examine how it makes you feel and you fall apart and you cry and you do all that, right? Anyone who even comments on that is a twat, so they can move on, right? But just by confronting how you feel in that situation, right? That comes from being able to confront how you feel in lesser situations. So if you get used to holding out your feelings and going, okay, why do I feel like that? What's this emotion? Where's that going? That's really useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for someone like me who has been stoic or angry or violent their whole lives. I now make myself look at all of these things.
Yeah, without judging yourself either. I think that's the big thing.
Judgment is really not useful.
No.
Right? I do judge people, but usually for comedy purposes. But if I was in a room full of people doing a drop-in and these... Right, let me tell you this. Being the CEO of this charity has changed my life completely for the better because it's no longer about me.
Yep.
Right? In that room, it's never about me apart from setting the right boundaries to keep myself safe. And I can honestly say that the people that I am working with have taken on my way of thinking, looked at it, looked at their feelings. We've talked about cause and effect, right? And I've never had any complaints. I've had people literally tell me that what we're doing is changing their life for the better. But that's not me. That's them finding their own solutions by talking it out.
Yeah. But if you weren't there, it wouldn't happen, would it? So it sort of is you.
No, but I'm not being self-effacing for once.
No.
I'm not. But
you're the catalyst, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm only able to be the catalyst on that because I've gone through a lot myself.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of self-forgiveness recently, but also setting up new boundaries. Like I don't drink alcohol anymore.
Yep.
Because I went on a rugby tour with my child and his mother and lots of other people, started drinking at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
By 10:30, I was literally headbutting moving cars, falling backwards through hedges and almost backwards over a wall into a river.
Okay.
The reason for that is, and talking about it now, it's quite funny, but I traumatised my child to the point he thought I was an absolute prick the next day. And he came and told me so, which is not, if you're a parent, that's not a great thing.
Not great,
but most of us have done that at some point, right? Secondly, my wife was furious, not because I did that, just because she had to deal with that. And dealing with me, I was laughing the whole time. Absolutely. There was no anger, there's no aggression when I'm drunk. It's funny. But it could have been different.
Yeah.
You know, I could have got angry. Somebody had knocked me the wrong way or done the wrong thing. I'd have reacted to form, but I didn't. And what I have realised is, right, I cannot turn it off once I've turned it on.
Yeah.
In the words of some country and western singer, I'm sure. So when I start drinking, I went on that tour to get pissed on that Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I did. But what I forgot was, I no longer have the wonders of modern chemistry to keep me straight because I certainly don't take drugs and I haven't done for 16 years. Yeah. And I also only drink cider. But Russ, who was the guy with me, bless him, didn't realise my limitations in drinking, didn't realise that if I drink lager and cider together, I'm going to become a lunatic. And quite frankly, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
So my coping is, right, stop. Because you can't say no.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I feel good. Look.
If you feel good, then that's the thing.
I feel good.
We're talking about work today, but not drinking.
Yeah.
And I said I've sort of fallen into it, really. I never had a drink problem. I was never a big drinker, but I've had a few nights when I've been absolutely mashed. And when Nikki and I got together, I guess the first 2 or 3 years we went out like people do and got drunk a lot. But yeah, I just sort of started getting headaches from just drinking one drink, and then the headache would stay, and then I'd still feel rough the next day and whatever. And I haven't had a drink for about a year now. I don't know if I've stopped. Don't know really.
Right,
That's a bit of a funny thing, that isn't it?
I want to hold that up. Right, I have to stop because I have realised that without stopping, I at any point can be vulnerable to stupidity. I can be vulnerable to bad behaviour. I can be vulnerable to some stupid accident, right? And I can't be that because I'm a dad, and I'm a charity runner, and I'm a whatever the hell else I am. But people don't have to give things up. If you're not an addict, you don't have to give things up, but you do have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And your decision is just as relevant as mine, but yours slightly different reasons.
Yeah.
Right, so if you go and have a pint and you get a headache, well, obviously that's got to be something to do with dehydration or whatever.
Well, part of me thinks it's my body saying I don't want that toxin anymore.
I do not want that poison in me. Now, my body goes, come on, bring it on, let's have it all. But apparently that's not good for you. So, okay, so looking at that, I think don't make it a heavier thing than it needs to be. I always need gravitas with everything, and I realise that is one of my main problems.
Yeah.
So, like, we do a podcast, and if it's not serious and it's not gritty, then I'm a bit disappointed. But nowadays, I'm like, okay, look, as long as there's a message, then let's have it.
So, I've never been a rugby man, of course. Well, not of course, but, I haven't been. So, was there any comprehension before you went of actually, I'm not going to drink, I'm just going to drink fizzy water? And if there was a thought of just drinking fizzy water, were you concerned, or was there any thought to the other rugby boys saying, "Let me drink water for you, puff"?
Right. The year before I went, and I was on antibiotics, that if you drink alcohol, you will be ill. So I didn't drink at all. And then I got all the, why wanker, why aren't you drinking? And I got more angry then than I would have done had I been drinking. And in the end, I pulled someone aside and said, shut the fuck up, mate, before you get hurt. And then they realised that, I'm the sober one, that's that. So I set boundaries by being a nasty fucker. But this year, nobody expected me to do anything. I was there with our friends, and that's the difference. The coaches at Hertford Rugby Club are our parents. So we're all in the same boat. They are very much focused and do what they do, and they're great, and it's a good thing. But they stick together and they get hammered. The reason they go is to get hammered and still function.
Which is very much a rugby thing, isn't it?
Absolutely is.
So was there anyone else there, or was there anyone there consciously not drinking?
No. There was one guy who had type 1 diabetes that could only drink red wine, but he had made provision, let me tell you. I think also there's a bit of, I don't think there's any nastiness about it. And I think the only reason that I got pissed off that last year about like this guy hassling me was just because he was being a dick about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, does it really challenge your masculinity if I'm not drinking? Because I'd still smash you up in the air twice, mate. What's your problem?
Yeah. So you're in a privileged position to be able to say that to people. I can't say that to someone your size, for example.
But why should you? Why should you have to?
People do still. They're not so much these days. But people do still challenge. Go on, have one. Go on, have one.
Right.
I don't want one.
The good thing about all this nowadays, though, is should it kick off for you, right, I guarantee that you are stronger than they are, whoever they are. And I also guarantee you are quicker than they are.
I can run away,
Yeah. Well, no, I'm thinking step to the right, underneath, bang him right on the pinnacle of the chin, watch him spark out. Right? Which, incidentally, kids, is not the way to behave. But also... Right, drinking is contentious because men see that as a manliness and things. I am more of a man now because I have made the decision not to drink than I ever was as a drinker.
It's a massive, massive decision to make.
Yeah, and also I like drinking.
Yeah,
I like it. I love the taste of Thatcher's Gold in the morning, in the afternoon, in early evening.
In the pub garden.
In the pub garden.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Also, but I love smoking cigarettes as well, but I don't do that anymore, and I haven't done that for years.
Yeah.
I love taking drugs. Oh, I really like doing that, but I'm not allowed to do that. I broke that. And I do have set rules. It might seem like my life has been chaos, but I don't take drugs, and I haven't done for 16 years, right? I now don't need to worry too much about drinking because I don't.
Yeah.
So when I went to Nikki's birthday, I felt great about that because I drove up there, right, walked in, had 3 bottles of fizzy water, right, which Nels paid for. I didn't even have to buy the water.
Bless him.
Beautiful. Had some grub, had a bit of chat, and then went, do you know what, I really need to get back now.
Yeah.
And got in the car and drove. Now, the difference is I may have been tempted to drive there and drive back while drinking before. That's some years ago, but that might have been it. I drove home, right? I drove home absolutely compos mentis, thinking about it the next day, had time on my own.
Yeah.
I never get time on my own.
Yeah.
So driving home was, okay, how's it going to work? What am I going to do with the outreach for Haileybury tomorrow? How's it going to go? And then when I got home, I was just really calm. And I went into my wife, and because I wasn't antagonistic or drunk or anything, you know, there was no friction from us. We just had a chat. How was it?
Yeah, you come bowling in, singing rugby songs. You're a slightly different ballgame.
Yeah, people might at home may find that difficult, shall we say?
So that's good.
It's a positive.
So is the not drinking? Does that have any relationship with the sertraline side of things? Is there any link there at all, or is that totally independent?
No, sertraline. I binned it, as you know. Sertraline did its job.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long I was on it. What, a year? Let's say it was a year. Right. In that year, let me set the picture. So every morning I was waking up, I was so anxious about decisions that needed to be made here, ways that my life had gone wrong, things that were just insurmountable, right, was causing me to wake up and physically throw up every day. And then I would still go out and face the world because I'm arrogant enough to not let anything stop me, right? But every single day I was a complete pile of nerves and an absolute mess. Then I'd go home at night and be an absolute pile of nerves and a mess. And you can't live that way. You cannot live in fear. When I was a criminal, at the end of my career, if you like, I spent 1.5 years waiting to be murdered for well, I'm not going to say by who and why, but I was waiting to be murdered. Now that sounds like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. No, that's terrifying. Yeah. Right, 1, I'm a flipping drug addict. 2, I'm exacerbating every problem by making it worse through drugs and, you know, not having anything, not sorting myself out. And then I dealt with that situation in the end by, when I got clean, I confronted everyone who I thought might want to kill me. And it turns out that 2 of them did. So we had that conversation. Yeah. That conversation didn't go their way or mine. Nobody died, right? But there was an altercation, and that altercation was pretty fucking serious. But now I can't live in fear anymore after that. That broke me as a human. I had to really, really do the work on that when I first started to sort myself out.
So what drove the decision to come off the sertraline? Just because you always intended to, or because there was some connection with that being a drug? And what we've said before, is that any different to cocaine or anything else? It's just a drug. I'll
tell you what happened. I always knew that it had to be a stopgap because talking to Rob, if you remember Rob Clarksdale.
I think that's what I would always say, but so many people end up staying on it forever, don't they?
They do.
The problem.
But Rob had said, look, it's only a stopgap, mate, and it'll give you the chance to sort out your brain.
A bit of headspace, yeah.
So once I found that peace inside myself and work through all of the angst and the rubbish that was in me, what happens when you have those base level feelings? You have to look at it and you think about the end result. And I can talk myself out of anything, but I can also talk myself into anything. Yeah. Sertraline gave me the dead feeling inside that I needed to actually look at what was going on.
Yeah. And do you feel more alive for not taking it?
Yeah. Now, right. 1 as well, it kills your sex drive. There is no, that's done. You're gone. Right. Secondly, you don't feel anything about anything. So my son comes to me with an emotion, I'm dead inside, like, you know, emotionally dead. And I suddenly realised I didn't feel anything about anything. Yeah. And that's not healthy. So then the next day, I dropped 50 mil. You're supposed to drop down every 2 weeks. So I dropped 50 mil and then thought, that was cool after 2 weeks. And then binned it. Then had to have a conversation with Laura about killing myself.
Yeah.
No ill effects since. Now, what everyone needs to realise is the half-life of those pills is forever. You might have some suicidal thoughts 4 months after you come off them, and it's still to do with the residual effects of that in your body. So pay attention. If you come off sertraline or any antidepressants, do it the right way. Don't do what I do. because I only didn't act on my thoughts because I knew what those thoughts were, because I'm trained to spot them. Mm-hmm. So the sertraline was amazing at giving me space to sort myself out, but then I had to come off it and see how I was. And I was amazing. Once I got past that, I have clarity of thought.
Yeah, I've heard people say that there is a danger when you start to come off, that you almost like the withdrawal of it will give you what you think of the symptoms, which is why people go, oh no, it's not for me, and then you go back on them, and then you try that a few times, and then you never come off them. And as we've said before, and as you've just said as well, it's only sort of dumbing down your senses, which isn't really dealing with the problem. So you've either got to deal with the problem another way, or
what if you actively chase your problem while you are on sertraline and all of that, you confront it, and it takes, and I'm not bigging myself up, but it takes courage to do that. But I'm reasonably courageous human being. I can do what I need to do, but also forgive yourself for the wrong reactions you have to that. Then you can do it. Sertraline worked for me, but I knew, and I'm saying this again, I knew I had to come off it.
Yeah, good.
And now I'm free of it. I now feel, touch wood, that I don't have the same level of heavy emotions, negativity, badness that I did have. I'm still human. I still get angry. You know, nothing changes that. But also be aware, human beings have feelings. Yeah. It's when you don't have feelings, you have to worry about it, really. Yeah. So that was that. I think we need to address also your way of coping with life. So you said to me, I think it was on the podcast, you said, I want to live longer. I want to be present for my children and Nikki and all of that. So you do that just by being healthier?
Yeah.
So how does that look? How did that change?
Yeah, I guess a lot of the way I live my life is with that focus, right? So getting out of bed in the morning for something other than work. Yeah. So I train in the morning. So the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock. I generally drag myself out of bed by 6:15. Cup of tea, cup of coffee, get down the gym. Pretty much every day. Well, 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Is that you go out to the gym or the gym outside and gone?
There's one or the other, depending on how quickly I get myself out of bed.
Got that.
I think getting to the main gym, the public gym is good, because then you get a bit of interaction with people. You're getting away from home, and because I work from home, I don't think necessarily doing everything at home is good. No. So having a bit of a regime, I think habits are great. I think routine is great. I think so. The first thing, is training. So train, let's say 5 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week. Eating clean is another thing. Which goes, right.
Explain that. Explain eating clean.
Eating clean is not eating ultra processed foods. It is eating generally whole foods, so meat and vegetables, and does include potatoes. Doesn't mean you can't eat potatoes. But as I think when we spoke about ultra processed foods, it's stuff that you can cook from whole food ingredients in your own kitchen, basically. So eggs, loads of eggs, avocados, meat. Yeah. Rather than bread and pasta and stuff.
Can I ask, do you enjoy food the same you did?
I absolutely love my food, yeah. I was talking to someone about that today. Our diet doesn't vary very much. It's generally minced meat of some sort, or chicken. So minced turkey, minced beef, minced pork, or chicken, with some sort of seasoning on it. Usually loads of cheese for a main meal. And then I either have sweet potatoes or maybe rice. Okay. So that's about as varied as it gets. I might have eggs, ham, egg and chips, whatever. But yeah, so high protein, high fat, low carb diet is.
Do you still
what I fulfil? Yeah.
Every so often on a Friday, have a greasy burger and something, because you used to do that, didn't you? It was like a little.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of cheat meals. I did for a while when I was being trained by a PT, because they sort of suggested that's good. I'm not necessarily a follower of that. I think I just, if I'm counting calories, which I don't do that often, if I feel I'm getting a bit heavy, I might count calories for a bit. But if I am at the weekend, I don't count calories, but I don't go and buy loads of sweets and eat McDonald's and stuff. No. I generally don't eat McDonald's. I think we said before, the only takeaway I generally get is
chicken shish
kebab, but might have an Indian occasionally. Because again, you go to India and then over chicken shashlik, which is a chicken kebab, basically.
Yeah. Apart from, I had shashlik the other day.
Yeah.
Well, it's very nice. It's very sweet.
Yeah, it was cooked in the town. It was lovely.
Well,
So So what we got? So routine training in the morning.
Yep.
Getting out in the fresh air. Right.
Fresh air is
so if I
important.
don't train, I go for a walk. I've got a 40-minute loop that I do around where I live. Try and do that in the morning. If I don't, I do it at lunchtime.
How far is that? How far is a 40-minute loop for you?
2.5 miles.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So out along the canal back. Which is the same. It does get a bit boring, a bit repetitive. But getting out in nature is massive. Loads and loads of research for not going to the gym or walking on a treadmill, but getting out, being in nature.
We've been doing that by we. I mean, me, Sid and Samuel, couple of times a week going on a longer walk. So we did like 3.5 miles the other week.
Yep.
On Monday night.
Yep.
And just walking around. Now that does two things.
Yep.
One, it gets us all moving and gets our steps up.
Yep.
Two, it puts us all in the same situation together.
Yeah.
And I am a fucking couch potato a lot of the time because I'm tired when I go home, so I want to watch telly and do nothing.
Yep.
But doing that walk, yes, it's exercise. In the moment before you go, and let's be honest, I go, I don't want to do this. But then when I'm on it, I love it.
I tell you, every morning I go to the gym, I go, I don't want to get up.
I am very bad at getting up in the morning. But now I've got a job. Fucking job.
That's why I said specifically, get up in the morning for something that isn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because I work from home, there's a danger I could have the alarm on at 8:30, roll out of bed, put a T-shirt on, turn the computer on, start work. And I
would do that.
I think in lockdown, lots of people did that. So that's, for me, very important to do the training. And then I guess other things are drinking water, predominantly. That's one thing that took me a long time to drink enough water, and I still don't always, and then get headaches. What else have we got? Sleep. Get to bed 10 o'clock every night. So try and get 8 hours of sleep.
I have to say, if I don't go to bed at 10 o'clock, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I have completely bought into that. I mean, I'm 51, right? So I'm over 50. I know that.
It was easy, wasn't it?
It was when it was 50, and now they're adding 1s and 2s onto it. But I do go to bed at 10 o'clock, and we get up about 6:30 or 7, depending on what shift I'm on or Sid's on and what Samuel's doing. So it's always about that time, right? There are days where I am not allowed in the bathroom until they've been in there, so I get a bit of a lie-in, which is fine. But also, I'm lucky. I have to walk the dog every day.
Yeah.
Now, Lily, walking that dog, I mumble and groan about doing that every day. But if I didn't do that, I'd be a sedentary human being, and I swear I'd be even more miserable than I already am. So, obviously, the trouble comes. She's getting on a bit. The trouble comes when she goes. But at this time, I get up because I've got to walk the dog before I go to work.
Yeah.
And that keeps me sane.
That's your routine.
Yeah, because also, if you underwalk my dog, she'll probably eat you.
Right.
So
does she pester to go out, or is it okay?
Right. So what happens is my wife usually goes downstairs first, or Samuel does. Now, if Samuel has the nous to keep the door closed until past 7 o'clock, right? If Sid's gone down, that means it's already past 7 o'clock. She opens the door, the dog comes herring up the stairs, right? Jumps right on me, puts her face there and goes, well... And it's like, fuck off. But she wants to go out. Yeah. And bless her, without me, she can't do that because she's got no recall. So we have to keep her on a horse line. So she gets plenty of running. She gets plenty of doing that. Now, some days there's a shorter walk and I have to take her on a shorter walk because otherwise we're all going to be late.
Time restricted, yeah.
But most days she's on the longer circuit, which is fine. This morning was really good, actually, because I didn't have to... Wednesdays are my busiest day, but it's the latest start. So in theory... If I don't want to come here, I don't have to be anywhere until 11:30, which is like to start for the group. And then maybe one of the guys from the group wants to one-to-one, so they'll come at 11:30 and I'll do that. So, but this morning, she got up, did all that, got out. I was here by 9:30 and doing what I had to do.
So where'd you walk? Do you walk just around the houses, or have you got a...
There's a designated route, which is past houses, across a field, round Capon and round back. So there's a bit of road walking, lots of grass for her to run on, and then but that circuit is good, it's solid. Yeah. What I do tend to do is walk the same circuit every day, but not necessarily the same way round. And the reason for that is if Lily doesn't go somewhere she's known or knows, she frets.
Right, okay.
So if you take her somewhere else, she's going to pull, she's going to bark at anything she sees, going to be like all of that. So even though that sounds really boring for her, obviously on a Sunday she will go for a bigger walk and we'll take her right out on the fields and do all that. But during the week, she will go either one way around the circuit or the other. But she's happy with that because she feels comfortable and there's no stress for her.
Yep.
So, yeah, getting out, I think, is important before you go to work for a different reason. I think that's really good, yeah.
Especially now you've got bright mornings.
Yeah, and
Sunshine.
mornings, and also when it's not raining and freezing.
Yeah, but
helps.
there's plenty of research that says getting out in it, whatever it is good for you.
Well, I haven't really got a choice.
No.
Because with the dog, that has to be the way.
Yeah, but it's good for you.
Ooh, knocking noises behind us.
No such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing choice. Remember that.
I only own the same clothes for the same things, apart from this rather revolting shirt that I think looks like Homer Simpson's moo-moo. Anyway, moving on. So where are we at? What's next?
Well, that's my general coping. But then I guess recently I've had a bit of a moment with stress, burnout, whatever you want to call it.
Okay,
I've actually consciously stopped to change the way I work and the way I deal with stuff.
Are you all right talking about burnout as a concept?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that manifest for you?
So for me, I didn't really realise, but various people told me once I'd sort of come out about it. So I guess causes for it are I work for 3 different companies across the 5 days during the week.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time pressure on me. And over time, I got more irritable. I got more angry, snappy with people. Didn't really see it myself. Came to a head where I spend most of my life on Teams calls during the day. Came off a call, kind of stomped down the stairs. Nikki was downstairs. What's up? And sort of, oh, well, he's a blah, blah, blah. And she went, I think you need some time off. Oh, well, I can't have time off because we've got to go live next week and we've got this and whatever. She went, book some time off. If you don't book some time off, this is lunchtime at this point. If you don't put some time off by the time you go back to work, I'm going to book some time off for you. So,
and she would.
She would, yeah. So at that point, that was a couple of weeks before Easter, and then I booked off from Easter through to the Bank Holiday Monday. And as soon as I'd actually done that, sort of a weight was lifted a bit. I then went back and looked at my work diary, and the previous year I'd only had 4 days off. And starting to look back...
The previous what?
The previous year I only had 4 days off work.
4 days off?
Yeah.
In a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I work for myself.
No, I get that. Yeah, but still.
Sort of, yeah, we don't go away much because of the cats and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I might as well carry on working then. You know, I work from home. You know, it's no stress. It's all right. If I don't work, I'm not earning any money.
There's no stress until there is.
Until I nearly blow up. So booked the time off. That was the first stage, but I knew taking the time off wasn't the solution.
No.
It would only take you a pause away from it. And who knows, it's because our devices are listening to us or whatever. On my Instagram feed, this thing called Liven, an app called Liven came up, and it said, this is how burnout shows in a blah, 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 in a working man, whatever. And it was this bloke saying, you know, can feel really emotional, feel really emotionless, irritable, stroppy, whatever. Try Liven for 28 days and you change your life, kind of thing. And I thought, it's Instagram, it's bloody social media telling me to pay for an app that I don't really need. Mm-hmm. But I thought, well, I'll sign up, give it a go. And it spoke about coping strategies and how you react to certain things. And I realised when I wasn't setting boundaries, there's a thing about assertiveness, being assertive, setting boundaries and stuff. And I think because I'm trying to be all things to all people for the 3 companies I work for, I was just trying to do everything, trying to compensate for everyone else, trying to make myself look good all the time and just taking on too much.
Yep.
So it talks a lot about reflecting on what triggers you in the first place, what makes you angry. And I'm thinking it's other people's incompetence that's making me angry, but it's not. It's because I'm thinking I've now got to compensate for you as well, sort of thing.
Yep.
Stop and reflect, realise what you're doing, and then learn there's better ways of doing that, which is to say to people, okay, well, you probably need my help, but I haven't got the capacity at the moment unless you want me not to do any of that stuff and all those sorts of things. So I started that 2 weeks before the holiday and carried on during the holiday as well. And then when I went back to work, my approach was completely different.
Is it now more mediation than angrily shouting, why the fuck aren't you doing what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, and weirdly, when I said I was having the time off, one of the women I work with said, do you mind if we have I mentioned it on like a group call. And she messaged me after, can we have a quick chat? I said, yeah. She said, I'd seen it coming for quite some time. I'd noticed a considerable change in you, but she said, I didn't know whether to say anything to you because I thought you might shout at me.
Didn't want to kick off, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I probably would have done. But I said, now I'm aware of it. I said, if you notice it happening again,
say something.
Please reach out and tell me, because then I'll do something about it. I mean, other people I work with at that particular company have been saying to me for probably 18 months, you need to take some time off, mate. And I'll go, yeah, I know, but. And they're like, no, you do.
There is a very tempting way of looking at life, that life stops if you're not there.
Yeah.
And especially, I mean, you, to a certain degree, you're basically the only person around that can do what you do, and without you, but there will be a way they will cope because they have to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So that's important. I have learned that my tattoo shop will run whether I'm here or not. It will. The only problem is it's also proved another thing, that if I'm not here pushing it, then it does slacken off. So, you have to understand that. But there's a lot of buzzwords about cortisol.
Yeah.
Right, you're not burnt out. You've just got a lack of cortisol, or you're always searching for it. And I don't really give a shit about what it is or where it's at. But I can tell you now, you're a different human being than you were before you went. And when you said to me, "I'm taking time off," what was my reaction? Was, "Oh, thank fuck for that."
Yeah.
Because who thinks? Nobody thinks, if you're you or me, right? Neither of us go, do you know what we need is a holiday.
Yeah.
Because we can't. I haven't got the money. You haven't got the time. I haven't got them. Fucking, it's not happening.
Yeah.
But you do have to take time off.
Yeah, exactly. So I spoke to Nikki about, okay, what we're going to do then over that period of time off. It was her birthday in the middle of it, so that worked out. That weekend was fabulous.
Yeah.
And after.
Fabulous.
So I had Easter weekend I decided I'd decorate my office because I wanted to do that for ages and never have the time.
Yeah.
Right? So 4 days, Nikki was studying, so I spent 4 days, replaced the floor, painted all the walls, put up a blind, made a lampshade out of a drum, all stuff that I sort of like doing, but I wouldn't like doing if I was trying to cram that into like a Saturday afternoon. It would stress me out. So made some space to do that, which was brilliant, really enjoyed it. Had a couple of days out with Nikki. Went to the gym with her, which we never really do because our timings never really work together. And then went down and saw Nels for 4 days in Devon and walked up and down the South West Coast Path and sat and ate fish and chips and did some just conscious relaxing, right?
Yeah.
All of which, when I go back to work, I'm doing it now, I think about the change, and people have said to me, you're back to smiling, and I, whenever I tell people about the impact of it, people, I guess there's one thing which is huge, I think, is because of all of my exposure to mental health stuff through the podcast, through talking to you, through Walk and Talk guys, through all of just listening to podcasts and stuff. People often say, "How are you then?" Right? And everyone goes, "Yeah, I'm fine." Right? I don't anymore. I go, "Actually, I'm pretty good at the moment." And then I tell them the story but I wasn't. About a month ago, I was starting to lose it a bit, and I tell them about this app. I'm not saying you have to go and get this app, but if you're struggling,
we're not sponsored by this app.
No, not yet. But it's just sort of opening those sort of conversation points. And so far, no one has said, "Oh, that's interesting." But in fact, one guy did say, "Oh yeah, can you talk to me a bit more about that?" One of the guys at Walk and Talk. So I had a bit of a chat with him about it, and you never know. Maybe the chat is enough for them to just stop and think and go, "Yeah, actually, I'm doing the same sort of thing."
When someone says to you, "You all right? How's it going?" Right? That's hello.
Yeah.
That's not, "How are you? How's it going?"
Yeah.
Right? What it should be is, "Hello, mate. You all right?"
Yeah.
And actually, be present for the answer.
Yeah.
Because do yourself a favour and everyone else. If you don't care how the person is because you're busy, don't fucking ask. Right? Because what we're doing is normalising, changing the word hello into, "Hey, doing all right?"
Yeah.
But say hello, mean that, And if you don't want to know how they are because you don't want to hear it, don't ask the fucking question.
Yeah.
And it's not, that's not antagonistic or anything, but you're not entering into something you're not able to deal with. Also, you've got to learn your limits with all that.
Yeah.
You've got to set boundaries for yourself. So when somebody comes in and asks you, you know, how you are, you know that they don't really care. So you don't answer.
Yeah, it depends who they are, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, that's a gross generalisation.
Yeah.
But once you start answering, actually, yeah, do you know what? I'm really good.
Yeah.
That also gets people thinking the other direction. Oh, shit, actually, they answered and they're all right. Or you go, I had a bad day yesterday, but I'm all right today.
Yeah.
Right? Start little explanations because then it normalises people actually telling you.
Right. I think that's probably what I've done, and then gauge their reaction at that first statement. And they go, oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, how's that then? And then you sort of...
Because also, you're either looking for a conversation or you're just being polite.
Yeah.
And if you're just being polite, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hello, done.
Yeah.
Right? Hello, mate. How are you? And then be present for that answer. And whatever that answer is, you can gauge whether you actually want to get involved in it. Yeah. But don't ask a question if you don't want the answer. Yeah. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
We're out of time.
Oh, bloody hell, really?
Yeah.
That list, look, all out.
I know. Well, we'll have to go again one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
50 and Coping is about us as well as you guys, and we're starting to realise that we are coping with what we do. We're finding ways to cope as well. Lee, as he's just told you, took some time off, but as well as taking the time off, that changes the way he thinks about his return, and also didn't just go back to the same grind, assessed where he's at. If you're dealing with grief, if you're dealing with anything like that and you can't cope, there are numbers in the doobly-doo underneath, or reach out to Coffee and Coping, because after all, that is what we're there for. We'll see you next time.